I set myself a challenge. I bought a booster pack for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Firstly, because I'm partially addicted, and secondly, they had no Paldean Fates booster packs, which I will fix soon. All for the goal of each Pokemon that I draw out of this pack, I'm going to create a new form for. We can get anything from a new evolution to Paradox forms to even my own Beast Paradox forms by spinning the wheel. Please like the video and share it around if you want more, because it won't take much to tempt me to do more of this. I can't contain my excitement any longer. Let's go straight to the opening. Hello everyone, I'm gonna open up this Pokemon card packet with the starters on it, and then I'm going to roll to draw various things based on the card themselves. So Paradox form, evolution, anything goes. Okay, let's get this baby open first. I had the code card because I want to use that. Put the code card away. Alright, we've got Flitto. Cute little art. Got Houndour, that'll be interesting to use. It's a Viper, okay, cool. Oh, it's a Toddle. Very cute. A Greedent, oh, okay, interesting. A Vivian with a Miracle Powder. Oh, Dash Bun sticking them Dash Buns out. God damn. A reverse Hollow Mareep. Very cute. Whoa. That's a cool Sandile art. What? Oh man, that's awesome. Do we have a final card here? Whoa, Koraidon. Oh yeah, that's awesome. And Psychic Energy. What? It doesn't matter. Anyway, cool. Let's see what we can do with all these little ones. So our first spin is going to be for Little Flittle. And we got an Evo for it, so a split Evo. I really love Espathra, so much so that I hunted for shiny Flittle despite the absolute hell that it entailed. Needle in a haystack, stupid creature. But shiny Espathra just, oh, so good. The color scheme. I knew what I wanted for Flittle's new Evo though. Some kind of bird based on fashion and kind of mourning so we could get a psychic and ghost type up in this biz. The bird type I chose for this was at first going to be an emu, but I mean it's not that different from an ostrich, so instead look towards a peacock. Because I wanted to have it be both genders instead of leaning towards one specifically, over a peacock or a peahen, I decided to keep that sort of ruffled plumage to the wings and keep the tail a bit more subdued. If it was a 3D model, I imagine the tail would sort of spring open to be much larger and have a ton of different eyes patterned upon it. High fashion is weird, so I could go a bit crazy with the design here, especially with Espathra being weird as it is. All of the design from Flittle to Pikachu here remind me a bit of Klonoa enemies, so you know, that's probably why I like them so much. The from behind view works well to show the most important parts as well as give that eerie, almost in mourning look that I was going for. The front view of it definitely wouldn't be as important to show anyway. Pikachu, the fashion Pokemon, a psychic and ghost type, evolves from Flittle after holding a Reaper's Cloth and defeating 13 Pokemon. Pikachu love nothing more than using their psychic powers for selfish reasons. They love their feathery coat so much that they will use all their energy to look far into the future to avoid disasters that will damage their feathers. If in danger, it will unfurl their wings and tail that is sneakily hidden under their body to show a mass of feathers that appear as eyes to Pokemon. It shows the soft side when Pokemon it likes leave this world and will solemnly mourn them for years on end. Pikachu have the ability Synchronize and Overcoat. Alright, let's spin this bad boy again. Ah, Beast Paradox form for Houndour. Who doesn't love happy, fluffy dogs? No one, that's who. I couldn't get the idea of my head for a big fluffy ice-type Houndour, bounding along with joy in its icy heart. I think it's a design trope for me that ice types should just be fluffy and well insulated, but it worked out so well for this one. Essentially, it's Houndour's head and legs sticking out of a big fluff pile where the sort of stand-in for bones are instead replaced with super hard ice. If you don't know what beast paradoxes are, they're a gimmick in my Australian-based region Astara where Pokemon have been trapped in ultra space and have ended up adapting to their environment there. Most of the time, growing larger in the process, even not fully evolved Pokemon, can have beast paradox forms like Magikarp and now Houndour. I wanted this to be a complete opposite to normal Houndour, and I think that turned out pretty good. Houndour, beast paradox form and ice type, the full of fluff Pokemon. Even the heated bodies of Houndour couldn't survive the ultra tundra, so they adapted. They became massive fluffy beasts that no longer had much to fear, leading to happier dispositions. Their fluffy body picks up ice crystals easily and bolsters their body in ice armor. This slows them, but a rolling Houndour becomes an actual danger to any in the way. Although safe to us researchers, a few bases have been crushed by a rampant Houndour. One that has taken a lot of snow can be fatal. 3-star threat. This form of Houndour has the ability Fur Coat. Alright, and next we got another beast paradox form for Seviper. Bear with me here because this one is a tad weird. So my idea for this one was that Zangoose and Seviper both got lost in ultra space and their petty war was nothing compared to what was happening. So they adapted and started to survive together. And after a long time, with a little help of ultra radiation, the two started to look kinda like each other to the point where both were imperceptibly different. So yeah, this is actually a beast paradox form for both Seviper and Zangoose. This is a kind of pokey fusion as well. I wanted it to be almost a snake centaur. That explains nothing, but like the body of Zangoose with the serpentine bottom half of Seviper. So it's almost like a Lamia creature with the fluffy arms of Zangoose tipped with Seviper's tail as the new claws. Surprisingly, this turned out a lot cooler than I thought it would. And while it's a bit impossible, it just looks cool. You know, rule of cool and all that. Typing is a bit wacky being normal dark. Dark because this thing is brittle in combat while keeping the normal from Zangoose. Although poison should have probably been there, I wanted the toxic boost from Zangoose anyway. Seviper, beast paradox form, the adapted Pokemon are normal and dark type. Both Seviper and Zangoose settled their differences once lost in ultra space. To survive, they adapted and gained this form that makes discerning between the two difficult. Their weaknesses are now covered by the adaptations and have become dangerous predators, working together in large groups to surround and hunt Pokemon much larger than themselves. Despite losing the toxins that Seviper had, their fangs and claws are razor sharp and can slide open most things with ease. Highly dangerous 4-star threat. This form of Seviper has the abilities Infiltrator and Toxic Boost. So Tuttle is next, and boom! Alright, we got a Convergent. This is kind of a funny one because Tuttle is almost a Convergent whale Pokemon anyway. So I looked to the past for this one and decided to turn our little Tuttling whale into a Pachycetus, giving it sort of those super duper early whale vibes. This would probably be what Tuttle's line would have stayed if it never went near the water and left again. Confusing, I know. I wanted to give it this feeling of having a very similar pose to Tuttle itself, but instead of being bipedal, it gets 2 extra little feetsies. But what about the hands, you ask? Boom, they're now big floppy ears instead. Our round lad now becomes furry and a bit pointier in the front. I love the Tuttle line. Titan is amazing and another Pokemon I was just overjoyed to get the shiny for. Another top 10 shiny, I'd say. The best thing about this design is how much of a puppy it is. Like, it definitely would evolve into a modern wolf Pokemon, which is just weird to say. The eyes were a bit hard to grasp for the most part, as you'll notice the Tuttle's sort of iris is white and blends into the rest of the body. I ended up just making the orange go there as well for Tech Tuttle. And if you can't tell, Tectodal would probably evolve into Tectitan, which is just a sick name as well. Tectodal, the early whale Pokemon, a ground type. It seems to be related to Sotodal. Theory suggests it may have been an ancestor that never went into the ocean in the first place. It has 2 large front teeth that it uses to crush up stones to find delicious minerals that help bolster their body. It will also use them like small tusks to ram opponents with. It is surprisingly fast and quite the annoying pest, thanks to its highly evolved leg muscles and sleek aerodynamic pelt. It seems rather inferior to Sotodal in comparison, where their habitats are too far apart to give much more of a comparison. Tectodal have the ability Sand Rush. Okay, Peter Griffin is up next. Yeah, and we got a G-Max form. I don't really do G-Max art. The style itself works very similar to the style of Beast Paradoxes, so I've been training for this. I'll admit I don't really enjoy G-Max forms much, but I'm going to try my hardest for Greedent. I wanted to make it this large, well, I guess larger than the G-Max Greedent, with big fluffiness on the front to look like a big Shrimpinane easy bib for them to chow down on some delicious berries. Speaking of berries, the main gigant part of this design is the tail on Greedent, becoming what I can only describe as a mix between a tree and a giant bulbous bag filled with berries. The actual berries themselves have also grown and now hang off the tail a bit, like it is a tree itself. My biggest hurdle with the design, which honestly I don't think I got the most effective look out of, it was the red outlines. Even with referencing the other official designs, I couldn't quite get it right. I know, it might just be my distaste for G-Max forms coming out. No big dex entries for this one either, as there isn't really much to talk about here. G-Max Greedent. The berries and other foods stashed away greedily in their tail have also become affected by the Dynamax energy, growing large and full of nutrients. In this form it is insatiable and will go after any food in its vision, except for the food actually on its tail. Greedent gets a normal type G-Max move called G-Max Berry Bomb, where the user and allies are also healed from the berry juice overflowing from the dropped berry. Vivillon is next. And we got a Mega, oh dear. The difficult thing with giving any form to Vivillon is, well, the forms. Just so many forms. I honestly just said screw and decided to do a single form for it. My first thought was going to be this fun little tech kind of Mega where its wings would make a QR code leading to my channel, but that didn't work out, so I went for my second idea and gave it this sort of pixelated monster face for the wings where the swirly antenna at the right angle would look like pupils to the eyes. Vivillon is a weird design because apart from the wings there's not much to work off with that tiny little baby body, so I thought why not make it look a bit bigger and have it have some parts from Spupa. Vivillon isn't really my favorite design anyway, so I didn't have a whole lot to work with as much as I do like the previous 2 evolutions. It kind of feels like it sacrificed a lot of its design for the gimmick, but you know, that's more me complaining because I had to do a Mega for it. Mega Vivillon, the scale Pokemon, a bug and flying type. Reacting to the Vivinite allows Vivillon to Mega Evolve, unleashing a new frightening pattern to its foes. By flying high above enemies, they look like an ominously looming face that either scares or lowers the guard of the opponent. During this time, Vivillon charges their energy, then unleashes it while the foe's guard is down, or back is turned. Because of their nature, Mega Vivillon can't live together, which causes all of them to be too spooked by each other, leading to massive infighting and large amounts of fatalities. Vivillon have the abilities in this form Intimidate. Next, it's time to spin for our bread dog. Oh, a future Paradox form. Now this will be fun. I adore doing future Paradox Pokemon now. I love putting tiny twists on Pokemon and turning them into a robot. There was one singular direction I wanted to go for Duxbud, and it was a bread oven. A kind of fun and silly Paradox design this time. Usually Paradox forms keep the main silhouette pretty similar, but change up a small part of them, like the turbine on Delibird's Paradox, but for Iron Bakery, I wanted the whole body to be this silly awkward cube shape that had the rest of the Duxbond body parts just sticking out of it, Almost a sort of Jetsons retro-futuristic idea for a paradox form instead. The bread bun head, or I guess they're supposed to be ears, I thought looked a bit like fans. So to make the design even more fun, I thought it would be great if Iron Bakery would have these slow spinning fans on each side that would spin super fast when attacking as those neck flames plumed out as well. The tail being a smokestack pipe doesn't exactly scream futuristic, but it was the only thing I could think of when I saw the original's tail. I struggled a bit keeping everything into perspective with all those angular and robotic lines, but luckily adhering it close to the original pose for Duxbun meant I could reference a lot from that. Typing was interesting as I had only Fairy to work with, and I mean Fire was the only choice, right? A bit upsetting as Fire Fairy should have just been the original type, but oh well. Iron Bakery, the Paradox Pokemon, are Fairy and Fire type. In a certain sci-fi magazine, they speak of a machine that would assist bakers in the future, being an entire bakery built into one Pokemon. Dough placed within this Pokemon can be kept for as long as they need to be baked, with no supervision. When speedy baking is required, the flames on Iron Bakery's neck flare up, and the fans on the sides of their head spin to help regulate temperature. It has no need to sleep and can provide baking assistance around the clock. Iron Bakery has the ability Quark Drive. Let's sheepishly spin for the next one. Oh, another Mega, interesting. Here you go, here's my Mega Mareep. Just kidding, but like honestly it's weird making a Mega for a not fully evolved Pokemon, but a fun thought nonetheless. So I decided that Mareep could easily go towards our big ball of fluff motif for today, while adding in those parts of Mega Ampharos I really like. Them gems, a chance to render those spheres. So my idea for this was an electric flying Mareep that is just sort of so fluffy it's a cloud of wool and floats via electromagnetism. Mareep Maglev, anyone? I initially wanted it to be that Mareep was having a good load of fun flying along, but we all know that being in Mega form is the worst and painful for the Pokemon. For some reason. Thanks to that, Game Freak. So instead, this is an edgy Mareep who really doesn't like getting flown around and is grumpy from all the static shocks it keeps getting from its own wool. I really love the idea of this Mega being larger than Mega Ampharos from all the sheer wool. Sheer, get it? Honestly, there isn't much more to say about this design except rendering those gems is a real treat and probably the reason why there are so many here. Mega Mareep, the wool Pokemon, an electric and flying type. Reacting to the Mareepite causes Mareep to take this sudden Mega evolution, a massive ball of wool brimming with shocking electricity. The gems littering their body, both inside and outside their wool coat, let out constant electricity. Mareep can feel this and causes them to move erratically and even lose sleep while in this form. In battle, they bounce around like a lighter-than-air cloud. In actuality, they are using magnetic levitation to move about. A single brush against Mareep can cause extreme paralysis that can last for days. This form of Mareep has the ability Fluffy. Alright, Sandile, the second last one. Let's spin. Oh, a new Evo for Sandile. This is going to be fun. This was a rare case where the art actually inspired the Evo for this one. I mean, the art here is literally so inspirational. I love it. But having Sandile be just under the sand and moving about, just like the real-life versions do underwater, made me want to make it into this kind of more goofy design compared to its actual Evos, in the form of Sand Submarine. This evolution keeps the quadrupedal design as it is usually never coming above the sand, so it has a bit of Skeledirge energy. The eyes become this almost submarine top combined with a periscope itself for all the good lookins, while the body gets the tubular shape with the arms and legs sticking to the side for maximum submarine silhouette. And also showing how it moves beneath the sand by just wiggling and jiggling. The big difficulty was that I wanted to show it was inspired by a sub, but I wanted to also show that big mouth, so open or close it would be missing a bit of readability. But I liked the tongue being out, so opened it was. Ground Steel typing for this one, for going the dark type. It's a Steel Diver, of course. I added a few extra little bits to the design to help the more sparse areas that were sticking out too much. Sonar Gator. The Sand sub-Pokemon are Steel and Ground type. Evolves from Sandile after using Dig to defeat 20 Steel types. Sonogata spend most of its life submerged beneath the soft desert sand with only their nostrils and eyes above the sand. Difficult sand and stone are easily destroyed by their steel-hard nose and claws. It constantly emits a frequency that is sent out through the sand's particles that allows Sonogata to detect the presence of anything living in a large radius around it. Once detected, it will speed towards the target and clamp down with massive jaws, dragging them under. It will swallow the prey once they suffocate. Sonogata has the ability Sand Force and Infiltrator. And last but most certainly not least, let's roll for Koraidon. And what a future paradox, huh? Well, here's my future paradox design. Okay, no, that's silly. Obviously, if it was Cyclozar, it would be Miraidon, but turning Koraidon into a future paradox would be weird. I wanted to keep the same body of Koraidon, but use the design aesthetics of Miraidon for it as well, giving it Miraidon robotic parts and the energy resembling them more. I love the idea of getting this almost Toxtricity-like energy crest to fill in for the feather things the normal Koraidon has. The wheel was difficult as I wanted to keep the Miraidon-like design, but instead I decided to play up the spiky wheel. This thing is just a puncture hazard all over the place. I wanted to be able to justify this design, so it's essentially a scientist saw a depiction of Koraidon and was like, yeah, let's build a giant robot that looks like it instead of Miraidon. I love the two Scarlet and Violet legendaries so much. Koraidon a bit more than Miraidon, but I think they're both banger designs, so opening booster packs and getting a chance to draw these two will never get old. For colors, I kept the iconic red, which actually really helps to make it feel like that mix of both a robot and a toy that a lot of future paradoxes have. But for the energy, I went like how Miraidon has theirs, where it goes white to yellow to the almost lavender color. So I used the gradient Koraidon already has, with it going from white to purple to blue, and it turned out kind of awesome looking. Man, now I want a Scarlet and Violet too, where this is what we get. Iron Crest, the Paradox Pokemon, are fighting an electric type. In a certain sci-fi magazine, they speak of a machine that was built to try and create a more true-to-life look of a Pokemon's ancestor, but the scientists who created it went too far. Its body pulses with powerful energy that crackles like spines all over their body. These pulses can be fatal if too close to Iron Crest. It cares for humans though, so it has become quite the hermit. Although it could be used as a riding Pokemon, the instability of Iron Crest means that it should be avoided unless in a dire emergency. Iron Crest has the ability Quark Drive. 10 designs done and dusted. I'm glad that the card pack actually gave me a bunch of different unique Pokemon to create, especially ones that I actually really like. Please drop a comment if you'd like to see more, because I'll absolutely hunt down some Paldean Fates boosters for the next one. You don't even have to push me that far. Also comment if there's anything you'd like to see on the wheel for our next video. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope all the luck on your own card pools. See you next time.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I need